So at this point, we've gone through our interface, we've gone through harvesting, we've gone through upgrading our tools, and also we've gone through claims and claim placement. And so now we have a piece of land. We have something that we can actually start working with, we can start building on, and it's kind of up to you what it is you want to build. But we need to get familiarized with the tools. So once you place down your actual first primary claim, you get all the tools that you need to actually do building. So let's open up our inventory, and we have our add tool, we have our delete tool, we have our selection tool, we have our paint tool, we have our smooth tool, and we have our hill tool. And dragging these down to the hotbar is going to make your life a lot simpler, and you can be able to quickly access what it is you want to do with all of this. So let's go ahead and hit X. Now we have it on the toolbar. Let's go ahead and lock it just to make sure that we don't accidentally drag them off of the hotbar. And we can kind of look around and survey all the land that we have are now owners of. So we can do almost anything we want to in here, including the right clicking and deleting or moving of different items on our land. And I'm going to delete out a few more of these just to make sure I have enough room for what it is I want to do. And then we'll start actually working with the tools that have been given to us. Now, I've already been gathering quite a bit of material, and gathering all the materials for what it is that I'm wanting to build it's a little tedious, but for the most part it's a lot of fun because you get to do a lot of exploring, seeing things you've never seen before, and gathering up all those materials will allow you to bring your imagination to life and being able to create things that you've always wanted to make at some point in time, or just kind of getting into the mix to be able to do things in the game that is the most enjoyable to myself, in my own opinion, which is the building process. Okay, so we've got some cleared out land now. I still have those two over there I need to clear out, but for the most part, I got some nice land up over here. So let's go ahead and go over the tools and explain what each of them does. Well, let's start out with the first one, which is the first one they give you, which is the add tool. Now, this add tool is actually pretty powerful. If I scroll my mouse wheel, I can resize this so that I can actually make the size of material or size of box that I want to in the world. For the most part, I would advise leaving it at its lowest point, which is a 1 by 1 by 1. And I can take this and I can click in the world and place down little cubes. And this is your basic set of things you can do here. Now, if I hold down my control key and click, I can drag that box up into the air. I don't have to leave it down on the ground. And this is something that's actually very useful for putting one of these little voxels exactly where you want to have it placed. And for the meantime, we're going to leave it right here and hit checkbox, then hit escape. And that will basically do the deselection. And that's one way of getting it up there. Now, if I do the same thing again, hold down control, click, bring this up into the air, hit my checkbox, you'll see that it had stayed again. And you're probably wondering, well, why is it doing that? Why don't you just go away? Well, at this point, it allows you to drag it over and create a line of those voxels pretty much where you want to to be able to create like shapes up in the air, which is kind of useful. And that mode that we're putting the little voxels in is what is called tweak mode. Tweak. Okay, now I have that up there. That is the basic use of the add tool and putting down the voxels into the world. And if you're wondering, what are you talking about? What is a voxel? Well, a voxel is that little box right there that we put into the world. And there are some advanced stuff you can do with these things, because you can change the shape of them and stretch out the corners in different ways, and which makes it very customizable to what it is that you're wanting to build. And getting to know how to manipulate that square shape is going to be some time consuming, but once you understand it, it makes the game even more fun and even more powerful than what you would think it would be. Now, so I have all these voxels and they're all laid out everywhere, but I don't want them there. Well, there's two ways you can kind of get rid of them. You can do a Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and you can do that all the way back 20 times. Or you can come in here with your subtractive tool and delete them all out. Now, this is kind of a good segue, because here, if you notice, I am at a standard prime voxel size with my delete tool. Well, I can expand that. I can make that bigger and smaller scrolling my mouse wheel. I can also go into tweak mode with it. I can hold down Control and click, and I can bring that up, and I can delete a single voxel that's up there somewhere, floating in the air, by using the tweak mode, just like we did with the add tool. So that is the first two tools. Now we have the next tool, which is also pretty powerful. We have the selection tool. Now at this point you can see it's the same size as the other ones, but I can scroll my mouse wheel and easily do the same thing as what we did with the other tools with the selection. I can increase that size or bring that size down, but I would advise keeping it at its lowest setting, which is the one single voxel size. We can click in one area and drag it across an area. We can grab the top of it and pull it up. We can grab the side and pull it and push it. We can also use these corner pieces to move it around. Now, at this point, say I wanted to grab the opposing face, the one that's on that side. Even though I'm over here, I want to grab the other side and pull it to me. If I hold down my F key, you can see instead of grabbing the top, it grabs that far side. Or over here, I'm grabbing the bottom, like this. And that's just by holding down my alternate key. Now here at the bottom, they've given us some nice new tools so you can actually see exactly all the different functions you can do with this given tool. For the selection tool, we have these four. We have all of these for the subtractive tool, and then same thing with the add tool. And it also gives us this alt. And we'll go into alt here in a little bit after we go over the basic tools and once we start putting things into the world. Now, the selection tool has a lot of uses, because as you notice, I'm not on the selection tool anymore, but I'm on the add tool now. So why is the selection tool still in the world? Well, it's because the selection tool actually works with a lot of the other tools that you have down on the bar, such as the smooth tool, the paint tool, the subtractive, the add, and the heal tool. And to kind of demonstrate that, let's go back to our selection. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Something like this. Right now, I am using a stone pattern, and if you notice down here at the very bottom, we have a little material selection box, and this is where we can bring up our window. It will look either like this one here, or if I expand it, it'll bring it up to where I can actually move it around. And for this, I think I'm going to use lava or some other material, and I can just scroll through all these to find out which one I have. And here at the top it tells you how much of that material you have, so do keep that in mind. You may not have enough to fill up, and it will warn you ahead of time. But I'm going to make a selection here at the top, go into my add tool now, and fill this with lava. So now I have filled that box with this material. Now this is where that little eyedropper comes into play. Maybe I don't want lava. Let's select that whole box again, like so, and let's choose a material we have on here on our area, which is this right here. Hold down Alt, and if you notice, there's like this light that comes off of my selection box now. That little light basically tells me I'm in eyedropper mode, and I can click on a given material and it automatically selects it here in my materials panel. So I have just selected dark tropical lowland rock. I can now use my paint tool and paint that selection with that material. Painting does not change the actual shaping of whatever it is that you've created. If I take my selection box and I pull this up and I use my paint tool on this with a different material, let's go with rough granite. If I paint the box now, you see the shape still stays there. It doesn't fill it. The only thing it changes is what is inside of it to a different material. So you can change large volumes of stuff all to one single material as long as it's all selected. Now, so we have this created now. We've learned how to use the add tool. We've learned how to use the subtractive tool, how to kind of play around with the selection tool. Now, the selection tool has another thing you can do, is if you hold down Control, you can move it forward and back, forward and back, up and down, to move it all around, and that's what it's all about. So but this kind of leads into the next tool, which is the smooth tool. And the smooth tool is pretty cool because I can, instead of having these hard edges, I can hit it with the smooth tool and round those corners off and create other shapes. You can do all kinds of things with this, and it is a pretty powerful thing. Now, I can use it directly like this onto the item, or I can hit C, change the shape to a circle, and smooth in this fashion, and it only smooths in that one little area. Or you can actually control what it is that you're smoothing by using your selection tool and smoothing. So the only thing it smooths now is what's in the box and just outside of that box. You can see it smooths just a little bit out here, but it's a lot more controllable. And changing the shape from a circle to a square is very easily, and that's just switching between those two, and that's by pressing the C key like this, back and forth. Another way you can change your shaping is like in your add tool, you'll see this right here. It says shape selection. You can press that, and these are all the ones that are currently in the game, which is square, the cube, which is what we normally use for almost everything. We have sphere, which is round, and you can scale it up and down. We also have the slope and all these other shapes that you can use to create all different kinds of stuff. More of these will be coming as time progresses, but for right now, this is what we have. Now, this kind of goes back to the last tool, and which is the heal tool. And you're probably wondering, like, the heal tool, what the heck is that? Well, the heal tool basically sets everything in an area, whether it be used by the tool itself, such as this, or within a given selection. Now, I want to basically set all this stuff that we have been working on here, such as all this air and everything, back to its default state. Now, to give you a better idea, let's delete some stuff here, make it look all funky, and I'm going to select this whole area. Excuse me. Let's select this whole area here, push it down into the ground and then up into the air. If I take my heal tool now and click on that selected box, the selection box that we just created, if I can get my character to do what I want. We have that selection box now. If I take my heal tool and I click on that box, it sets all the ground back to its default state. So it's easy to get back to where you were. It's also a very powerful tool if you're wanting to clean up things around your area, and say you've cut holes in the ground for some reason, and it's a lot easier to just heal it than it is to just put down voxels to fill those holes in. But that is pretty much the basics of the tools, the different things you can do with it, and I would definitely encourage you to explore and play around with each and every one of them. Oh, there was one other tool that we didn't cover, and somehow I missed it. It was the line tool. Probably one of the most powerful tools that has been given to us is the line tool. The line tool is going to make this a lot simpler for you, and I'm going to give a brief demonstration on some of the things you can do with the various tools. So just kind of watch, you'll see what I'm talking about. And this is what the line tool can do. The line tool will allow you to take areas from here. I can drag it out after clicking once to here, and I can create slopes and angles of all different sizes and shapes. And create a lot of different shapes that you normally can't find in other games. The line tool is very powerful, and you can also do what is called negative line tooling, which can change the shape of other voxels. Now, you can also use that same tweak mode by holding down Control. And using it and making things up in the air. Now, this goes back to the heal tool. I can heal things and put it back to the way it was before I even touched it. Smooth tool. You can see I'm smoothing all this down. I can create some very interesting things with this. Paint tool. Let's paint this something else. Selection tool. Paint. Click, delete, click, add, click. So I can do all these different things using that selection, and it only involves that one selection space. But this, it pretty much covers all the different things you can do with the basic tools that have been provided with you, provided to you. Normally when people first start out, usually the only things they ever use is the add tool, the delete tool, and maybe the smooth tool a little bit. But all the other tools that are at your disposal will give you a lot of power in what it is you do in this game. And in the next tutorial, we'll go over hotkeys and how to actually speed up your building process, and which should help you along the way, being able to build things a lot faster than just single voxels here and here and here and here. And with that, we'll see you on the next tutorial.